So, Congressman, thanks so much for being with us. Really appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure to be with you.
Under the Constitution, as you know, Congress is given some responsibility having to do with trade relations. Is the Congress exercising the diligence it needs in respect to trade right now?
Well, and actually, we just took an additional step recently with the Trade Promotion Authority legislation that retained authority in Congress to set the trade policy clearly with congressional oversight. So bottom line, what the president's doing is bringing a disruptive trade policy to the table, and I'm very confident we're going to see some positive results of this, even as soon as today or tomorrow in regards to negotiations with Mexico.
Well, we hear conflicting reports about that, Congressman. You know more about it than we do. Is that right? You think we may get an answer today or tomorrow on NAFTA that would be favorable?
I think the pressure is building, and I think that timeline is coming to a head very shortly here, because Mexico has given us indications, and from my understanding, getting this NAFTA update done. That's going to put tremendous pressure on Canada to finish off their negotiations, and then we're all going to unite as a family to take on the trading issue that we need to take on, and that's the trading relationship with China.
And there doesn't seem to be much progress, does there? I mean, we have now officials meeting from both sides, but it doesn't seem as though the discussions are advanced in any way at this point.
Julie, I think that's accurate. I think what's happening here is at least they're talking. That's a positive sign. But as we get our family aligned, quote unquote, in regards to our relationships with Canada, Mexico, and the EU, I can assure you that table is going to be fully engaged with our interest being out there with the Chinese partnership in regards to their interest. But at the end of the day, it's about taking on China to get us to a fair, level playing field of trade with them.
You have referred a couple of times to the family here, the North American family. Then if we throw Europe in the mix, doesn't seem like the president's on board with that family vibe, if you will, right? Some of these discussions have been really contentious with Canada, of course, some of the rhetoric with Europe, although now that's cooled to some extent. Is that productive, do you think?
I think it's disruptive, and that's the disruptive trade policy that the administration clearly put on the table during the campaign and is bringing to the world today. And at the end of the day, you have to get people's attention who are used to status quo type of trade policy, status quo type of relationships. And I think what the president has done is disrupted that, and now folks are taking it seriously, and that's why Mexico, I think, comes to the table first, Canada shortly thereafter, and then we align the EU with the family. And at the end of the day, we take on that trading partner that we need to take on together, and that's China.
Congressman, you with 434 other representatives are up for election come November. Does this play with the constituency? How important is trade to people up there in Ithaca?
It's very important to our district in regards to the agricultural interests. We have some high-tech manufacturers in the district that it potentially impacts. But I think what people are forgetting is that President Trump tapped into this silent voice of the Rust Belt, of that part of America that put him into the White House when every political pundit said they're just not going to be with him. And so this voice is being heard, and they're willing to take on this disruptive effort, but they want it resolved. They want to bring stability back to the trade agenda. And I think that's where we end up, especially with our trading partners like Canada, Mexico, and the EU.
Well, disruption doesn't come without pain, right? As you say, in the meantime, there's going to be some potential hits to places like the Rust Belt, to some, in some cases, iconic American manufacturers as a result of this. How long can they put up with that kind of pain?
Julie, that's a fair input, and that is a message I share with the administration quite often, is that we're willing to see where this disruptive policy goes, because in the long term, I think we're in a stronger position. But there is obviously real impacts, real people that are impacted by this disruptive new policy shift. And so that's why the $12 billion of foreign or of farm aid that's been put on the table to stand with our agricultural communities, some other additional relief mechanisms that are being considered in regards to exemptions, those are hearing the voice of those that are feeling the short-term pain in order to get to that long-term positive position.
Congress, I want to finish here on another subject that you're very much involved in, and that is the question of how representatives are treated with respect to their outside business interests. You have a colleague, Chris Collins, who's under indictment for insider trading. As I understand, you're proposing some reform, frankly, some reforms that we thought maybe Congress already had, but they don't.
Yeah, working across the aisle with Kathleen Rice, a Democratic member from New York also, we saw the potential conflict in the House of Representative ethics rules that don't bar members from serving on corporate boards. And so we thought at least we should have the Senate rules that do have that bar in place applied to the House. And that's the proposal we're coming together to send the message. We hear the American people, and we have a commitment to make sure that their trust in Congress is strengthened, not weakened. And this is an effort that we can agree, Democrat and Republicans, to improve our ethics laws to make sure that there's no conflicts there.